to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. And today, like every other day, I'm so excited when people walk through that door. And today is no exception to the rule. We have in studio, all the way from HGTV Studios, I guess it's in Burbank, California.
HGTV doesn't have any studios. That's cute, though.
Well, it made it sound good. So,
it did. It sounded good.
I'd like to welcome in studio the one, the only Good Bones herself, Karen from this TV series Good Bones. Welcome to the show today.
Well, thank you for having me. This is very exciting.
Did I get the introduction right? I should have said Burbank, California.
Well, I feel like we might be cohorts in age.
Okay.
And that was how they introduced Laine, I think.
Yeah.
It was from downtown Burbank.
Downtown
right?
Burbank,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
let's get right to the point. Good Bones has been around for several years. Tell me how it got started before we get into exactly who you are. Tell me how that whole thing started out.
how it got started is my daughter and I had a small company that we named Two Chicks and a Hammer because we thought that was funny.
That's nice.
Turns out, depending on what cable package you have, if you're looking for Two Chicks and a Hammer, you might find porn.
Oh, okay.
So maybe not a good name for a TV show. Who knows?
Right.
But we had a little company. We were rehabbing houses in Fountain Square in Indianapolis, and High Noon Entertainment was looking for someone they had worked with before. And in their search, they found us. We were not who they were looking for, but apparently we looked interesting to them. They found our Facebook page, which, for then, this is 10 years ago. It wasn't bad.
Right.
But I look at it now, it's like, oh, it's not that good. So they called Mina, and then Mina and I did a Skype interview, and then they gave us some little handheld video cameras, and we videotaped what we did,
Right.
and we sent those in, and the production company, High Noon, made a sizzle, which they compress all of what we've given them, and they go on the internet and find pictures of Mina in a bikini. You won't find any of those of me. My bikini days are long before the internet. And they put it together and they gave it to HGTV, who said, make a pilot.
Right.
And we made a pilot, and then we had a season 1, and then we had a season 2. And I think it was after season 2, we filmed continuously.
That's now you got a full-time job for real.
Yeah, until season 8 ended, which was, when did season 8? July. It ended in July.
That's a serious run.
Yeah, that's a long run.
Yeah.
That's a good run.
That's a good run.
It's a good run.
Yeah.
Can't complain about that.
But you know what? Even more it's down here is the power of social media. Mm-hmm. 10 years ago, you were spotted on Facebook. So let that be a lesson to individuals out there. Watch your content.
Yeah.
Somebody's watching you.
Yeah. Well, and when HGTV took us on, they searched our social media to see if there were anything we'd put anywhere that was inappropriate.
Right.
And I put all my inappropriate stuff on Twitter. So people who knew me knew these things were jokes.
Right.
But they all had to come down.
So when you finally got the go ahead, and I guess people don't understand how to do a trailer and a pilot. You're putting together a lot of footage, and then you got to make that footage make sense to the viewers. But let's move forward a little bit. So now you get the offer. They like the trailer. You get the offer. What went through your mind?
Really, not much went through my mind. I am the queen of the pivot.
Okay.
The universe rolls up with a new ride and opens the door. I say, hop in. Okay. And that's what I do. And because the things we regret are the things we don't do.
Right.
Well, we also regret the things we say wrong. The people
I think a lot of us do that,
right?
yeah.
But I mean, in life, if you're
Right.
given an opportunity, the likelihood is if you say yes to it, you will not have any regrets because you'll realize, oh, great opportunity.
Right.
Or, oh, not for me. But I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't tried. So
when you got the opportunity, what's the ground play? What's the layout now? So viewers can understand exactly what it takes to actually produce and get the show. They're putting it in your lap.
right.
You got to lay out the blueprints.
So home renovation, unscripted television, I think is probably great for production companies because the home renovator is paying for the set.
Right.
So Mina and I had been doing 2 to 4 houses a year, and now we're supposed to do 10 for season 1. And it's about $180,000 a house to buy it and rehab it. So that's $1.8 million that we don't have.
Right.
But we've agreed that we'll do these houses. And I give Mina all the credit in the world. She found the money. She found investors. She front-loaded the houses she knew would sell fast, so then those could support the back houses. We had a couple of homeowner renos where the homeowner pays for it. But that's the biggest change is the money.
And I think people don't realize that. They see television and really don't understand what goes on behind the scenes to make these home improvements and just real TV work.
Right. And I don't know. Are you going to get down? All right, get down.
Who's our friend real quick?
Oh, this is Adele. She's excruciatingly friendly, and she's having trouble just sitting quietly because you, sir, are what we know in the legal world as an attractive nuisance.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what that is?
It means I might be in trouble.
So it's like a swimming pool.
Okay.
The kids in the neighborhood are drawn to it because it looks like so much fun. And then they jump in unsupervised and maybe bad things happen.
Okay.
It's very attractive, but it's also a nuisance. And I feel like you could get me in trouble if we were out on the town. I feel like that would be easy to do. So it's a good thing we're here.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
But you just sit still. So this is Adele.
So back to the question you were saying that she found the money.
She found the money. And we made a season. And TV managed my expectations very well. So when we did the Skype interview, thank you very much for your time. You'll never hear from us again.
Right.
When we did the videotaping, thank you very much for your time. You'll never hear from us again.
Right.
When we did the pilot, thank you very much for your time. You'll never hear from us again. At the end of then when we got season 1, they're like, season 1, a lot of people get season 1. Nobody gets a season 2. This is
right.
it. And now 8 seasons.
Right.
I still don't think we have a TV show.
And people don't understand that first season is really the hit and miss.
It's really, really hard because nobody knows what the story is.
Right.
So what kind of story are we trying to tell? Because it's not just about a house, it's about people.
Right.
It's about the people who lived in the house before, what happened to the house, the people who are fixing the house, their interpersonal relationships, people who are going to buy the house. Right. It's a story about people, and they're all redemption stories in one way or another. How do you
guys get the people on board with television and being cooperative? Because they're part of these people's houses you're fixed up. Mm-hmm. They have to be part of the story.
Right.
How do you get them involved? How do you get them to say, okay, forget about the cameras?
Oh, getting them involved isn't that hard. Most people think being on TV will be fun. Like they like that idea.
Right.
But then they get in front of the camera, and some people are just naturals in front of a camera.
Okay.
Doesn't bother them at all. And then other people completely freeze. And that's why we have editors.
How many people have frozen in season 1?
Well, I'll tell you what, our very first reveal of season 1, the house on Barth, the girl who came to look at it walked in and she just sort of plastered her arms to her sides and was stiff as a board, but her face, because she was so scared, it also looked excited.
Right.
So they just showed this big wide-eyed face and she said, wow, and it was great. The editors did a great job.
Okay. So you started out with the hammers, the chicks in the hammers, and what kind of experience did you guys bring to the show?
So Mina and I...
Before doing the show is what I mean.
Before doing the show, we had done, I want to say, I can't remember, 21, 27 houses that were in really bad shape, hoarder house, nobody'd lived in them for years, abandoned. And so we come in, we strip them down to the studs, because if you don't do that, you don't know what's wrong and you can't fix it. And I like to say, I don't want to build a house that I wouldn't live in.
Correct.
Because these are my neighbors. So I just don't want to do that. Strip them down, rebuild them. And early on, we did an awful lot ourselves. Really? As time went on for TV, it moves so fast, you need a lot of help.
So now you have to add additional costs. You got to bring in contractors.
Uh-huh. and time is money.
Yeah.
So if I can take 6 months to rehab a house, I can put a lot of sweat equity into it.
Right.
And I can make more money because I put my time into it. But when you have to do 13 episodes in 10 months, you don't have time for that, because construction is a full-time job and TV is actually a full-time job. Because when you think about it, if you watch the show and you see us in a scene,
Right.
not much is getting done in the scene.
It's a lot of
Because we're
communication.
talking and
Yeah.
we're blah, blah, blah. And
Yeah.
then so the things have to get done behind the scenes. And so it's tough. It's tough.
What were the conflicts that happened on sets? You guys, because you're dealing with all kind of personalities. You got your contractors, you got your bricks, you got your landscapers. You got a deadline. This is a job now. It's
Right.
not just
Right.
television. I think people need to understand it's not television anymore. This is your job.
Asking me what conflict is tricky, because I'm a litigator and a trained mediator and a mother of 4. Like, top of my resume, hostage negotiator, right? Like conflict is my milieu, if
Right.
you will. So it's, and when people hear the word conflict, they think, oh, there's a fight or there's some drama,
Right.
and that's not it. I mean, really,
What's the most difficult thing
the
that
most
happens on set
challenging
for you?
thing
Yeah.
is to get the house done correctly, in under budget, on time.
Okay.
Those things are hard to do, and it's you have to get the right subcontractors, and you have to bid it right, and that never happens. So the biggest problem is things are always going wrong. They're just always going wrong.
Every
always.
time I watch one of them home improvement shows, it's always them 2 brothers, first of all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And they always, they never, nobody ever seems to come in with the right dollar figure. Every time you turn around, they're asking for more money. What's going to be another 20,000?
Yeah, so I have a theory about that. All right, this is my theory. That those boys are smart and they know how to do home renovation.
Okay.
And I do believe that they have mapped out the whole story, and that surprise for the homeowner is part of the story in their heads. They know.
Right.
So because you know what? Viewers want to come along for the ride.
Right.
Right? They want to see the problem. They want to see it get solved. They want to be part of the hero's journey.
A lot of times I get upset when I see them go, well, that'd be another 20,000. Then all of a sudden they cut to the just the 2 individuals and be like, well, honey, we don't have that in the budget. And all of a sudden the budget becomes real. Like, okay, here's the money, you know?
Right. But I think that that's something people want from TV. And that's not drama. Like, nobody's getting their arm chopped off.
Right.
It's not that kind of drama. But it's real. These people, this is real money. And
These are real stakes, and we as viewers feel drawn into that. And what would we do in that situation? And how would we handle it? And how would we come up with the $20,000? Who would we ask? And then when they
figure it out, we're like, yes, they figured it out, and we're cheering for them. And then the house comes out great, and we're all happy.
Yeah.
And that's what people want from those shows.
Which house was the most difficult for you in which season? That you guys, no matter what you did, something went wrong.
Most difficult. Well, I wouldn't say so I retired from the company in 2019, and there was a house that we started in season 7 that didn't get finished until season 8, and absolutely everything went wrong. Everything went wrong. Like, they put the siding on before they fixed the foundation.
Oh,
That's
wow.
not the order of operations.
Right.
That's
Foundation
not how you
first,
do it.
right?
Right. That's first.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you should do is your framing. So then they tried to put the framing behind the siding, and that doesn't work. You can't do that. So just so many, 1 step forward, 10 steps back. And that wasn't mine. I wasn't part of the company, but I still felt terrible for that situation. That's awful.
When you're on the streets in Indianapolis, how well are you recognized?
I mean, I was at Eagle Creek Park today with Adele, and I got recognized.
How does it make you feel? Like,
oh, you know what, Pete? Our fans are the nicest. So there's always a connection, which I like. I love meeting. You know what TV's done for me?
What's that?
I was the girl who made friends with you in line in the grocery store.
Okay.
And you're like, why? Why am I making friends with the girl? What's wrong with? But I like her. So okay, now we're friends. Now people make friends with me in the grocery line. So it's taken all the effort out of it for me. People just come up to me and talk to me now, and it's great. So there's grandparents with their 2 granddaughters, and I have my little dog, and we're making friends. We're talking about grandkids and how great grandkids are and how much we love dogs, and we're just making friends. It's nice.
We talked a little bit about the good bones part of your life. Let's talk about you. Tell the viewers a little bit about who you are in general, where you grew up, a little bit about you, because you didn't come in the world with a whole bunch of hammers and saws. At least I don't think so, but share that with the viewers who you really are.
Well, I think what gives me the idea that I can fix a house is the way my parents raised me.
Okay.
I have 3 sisters. My father didn't have any sons. So we were all treated like we were sons.
Okay.
And daughters.
Okay.
Like, there was never any sense growing up that there was anything I couldn't do if I set my mind to it. And I might need a machine to help me,
Right.
but my brain could invent that machine and I could do it. And that's the way we were raised.
Right.
I grew up in Connecticut in a small town. My dad was an electrical engineer. He's passed now. My mom worked for the local board of realtors when we all got out of school. She was a stay-at-home mom when we were kids. And, we had the normal kid things.
Mm-hmm.
I hatched a duck. We had a dog. There was an experiment with a goat that didn't go very well. There were chickens. We lived on acreage. There were 7 acres. We had a vegetable garden. There were flower gardens. There were creeks we could stomp and rocks we could climb and trees you could build forts in. It was a good, solid upbringing. My parents didn't have a lot of money, so they spent their money wisely.
Right.
They didn't buy new cars. They bought me a cello. Right?
Oh.
Like, a cello is more important than a new car.
Did you learn how to play it?
I did learn how to play.
Okay.
Oh, I love that cello.
Is it? You still have one?
I do not, which makes me sad. I slipped and fell on some ice and smashed the front of my cello.
Oh.
And it never sang again. And it just broke my heart. And I was just like, all right, moving on. So yeah, we all learned how to play an instrument. Academics were very important.
Right.
College was important. It took me a long time to graduate from college.
But you did it.
I did. I had different phases, and I moved across the country and went to different colleges, and that's how I ended up in Indiana, was a different phase.
What phase was that when you came to Indiana? What phase were you in?
I was in nursing school at Ohio State, and I met my first husband and said, I'm not moving to Indiana unless we're married. So he married me.
Okay. That was husband number 1.
Husband number 1. I am not good at being married. I'm not good at it. I don't have the skill for it.
How many husbands has there been since Ohio State?
I'm on my 4th.
Okay.
And we are working on getting divorced.
Lord have mercy.
There are no bad divorces. There's only bad marriages.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, divorce isn't a happy thing, but it's better than a bad marriage.
Now, you mentioned your sisters. What role did they have? Did they have any role or any advice in the show?
Oh, no. My sisters and I are far-flung geographically, emotionally, and relationally. So that they never gave me any advice, and I never asked for any advice. That's not the kind of sisters I have.
Really? They never called you on the phone and said, hey, it's my sister?
No.
Really?
No.
So tell me about you and your daughter's relationship. 8 seasons, you birthed her, you watched her grow up. She's going to work with you every day.
She has said a lot of things publicly recently that I would prefer not to talk about. When I think of Mina, I think of an amazingly talented, driven,
Right.
smart, capable person who I've had the honor to work with for a long time. I mean, most moms don't get this lucky.
Right.
They really don't.
Most individuals don't get that lucky.
And we've had such a good run. And I've learned so much that I never thought I was going to learn.
Like what?
Like, I can pitch a TV show now. I know a good story from a bad story. And part of that's from being a litigator. Right. If I'm telling a story to a jury, I'm going to tell them a good story. Right? I'm going to tell them a good story. Okay. I'm going to take out all the parts of the story that are boring and don't help anyone. I'm going to tell them the good story. Let that other lawyer tell them the boring parts. Right? Let them be the boy. It's fine. And that skill got honed even more in TV, watching what the production company edits out and what they put in. And so I took a little trip recently to another
Little metropolis, met an amazing woman, and this is all not being said specifically because it's still secret.
Right.
And this is a story. Like
I came home and I couldn't wait to tell the story. It's so good.
Right.
It's so full of what the world needs. And I'm in this weird place right now where the black people are schooling me. I am growing as a human being. I am learning. Like what we did with Two Chicks and a Hammer, I thought I was doing a good job. And I have learned that I could have done better. And I want to do better. And so I have all these experiences going on around me that are helping me grow and do better. And it's all black people. Every single person who is growing me is black.
Were
including you, sir.
Thank you. Were African Americans or people of color or people of other ethnics around you during your production of your show growing up? Like, why now all of a sudden this epiphany?
So I grew up in a very white town and grew up without any idea of what racism was. Never experienced it. When I started dating a black guy in high school, we worked at the same McDonald's.
It always happens at McDonald's.
Yeah, always at McDonald's. My dad had to tell me the hard truth that there are racists in the world, and that if we are out in the world dating, I need to be prepared for that. He liked this boy. It wasn't anything about the boy I'm dating. It's about my girl's not ready for what the world's going to do.
Right.
And I was like, okay. And we actually never had that experience. We never. And I think it's because we're a slightly different generation and things were beginning to change.
Did anything happen when you was dating? Did anything, what your father said, did any of that ever come true?
No, it never came to, we never had any trouble. Nobody, and I think it's because we're young.
Okay.
And maybe we're not paying attention to the world around us very much. So things might have been happening that we just weren't noticing. And, we were in high school. We didn't date that long, a couple months.
Right.
And it was just, that's what you do in high school. You date someone a couple months and you move on.
Right.
But my daughter-in-law is black. And it's funny, I don't think about that. Because I would like it if it were this way, where color still matters because of what has happened culturally.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be nice if we could heal that and it didn't have to matter anymore. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it would be nice for everyone.
Well, I think it's working by what you're saying. If you wasn't exposed to it, you don't think about it. But then when it's brought to a confrontational moment in your life, then you're kind of forced to look deeper than within yourself.
I went to Gang Gang's art show, Butter, and there's a young man named Samson who does walk and talks. He is amazing. He is upbeat and energetic, and he walked us around the Stutz and told us what used to be there.
Really?
And he showed us there was a vibrant neighborhood here. There were hospitals and doctors and millionaires. And because it was a black neighborhood, that's where the highway went.
Yeah.
And I know that story, but until Samson told it, I didn't know that story. It didn't hit me. We came back to the Stutz. I'm like, I need to shoot people. I just do. I feel very angry about what has happened. And he goes, but what you're doing is you're learning and you're going to do things differently. You're going to make it better.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, that's a nice thing to say, but I still want to shoot people in the knee. Right? That's how I feel right now. I feel very angry. And maybe it's because I didn't grow up with it. So it's weird to wake up to something in your middle age.
Right.
Right? It's weird. And difficult to navigate in a culturally appropriate way. I want to be respectful. And so I need a lot of help.
What do you think if this had been brought to your attention during the filming of your show, what do you guys think you could have done differently?
Well, I could have researched where we're working, which ones are the historically black neighborhoods,
Okay.
and how do I honor that and respect that? How do I bring that history forward into what we're doing? And I don't have the answers. I have the questions right now.
Right.
But I also know a lot of people I can ask who will have the answers, who will
Where would
help.
you start at? Where would your first question be directed to?
My first question would be to Samson, because he would say, well, this is where you can look. This is the book you need to read. This is the institute you need to go to. Or I don't know, but I'm going to help you find out. And and I would have an ally. So I didn't do any of those things because I didn't know, which is not a good excuse. It's just true. Now I know. So I bought a little house in Wilmington, North Carolina. I am the only white girl in the neighborhood.
Why Wilmington, North Carolina?
Wilmington, I went there a long, long time ago. I loved the town. I loved the people. I loved the climate. So I can grow rosemary in the ground in Wilmington, North Carolina.
That's some good soil.
It's warm. Rosemary likes really good drainage, so sandy, peaty soil, and it doesn't need a lot of nutrients. So it's not so much, it's just that it's warm. And so I don't have to live through another Indiana winter. And I can get day jobs. They have production assistant jobs and extra jobs because they call it Wilmywood. It's the Hollywood of the Eastern Seaboard. It's got a dozen production companies right downtown.
So you're leaving beautiful Indianapolis, Indiana to go to North Carolina. You're taking your talents to North Carolina. Wow.
Well, we don't know. We don't know, because this is why I'm the queen of the pivot. So in January, I went to Wilmington. I still love it. I went for a walk. I found a house. I bought it. I didn't know anything about the neighborhood.
I just knew the house. And now I've met my neighbors. There's some of them are so nice. I love my neighborhood. I love my little house. But my youngest daughter,
Decided it was time to have a baby.
Okay.
So she's pregnant now, which is a reason
Congratulations. You're
to
going to be a grandma.
very
Yeah.
excited. Grandma again. And you know, she's the baby. And I just we smush her. I love her so much. And when she has a baby, I could, my next career could be, I'm full-time daycare. That could be my next career and it'd be fine. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Is that what I'm supposed to be doing? So it makes me wonder, should I do this when we're going to have this? And then my son, who's been living in San Francisco for the last 16 years, got married, had 4 kids, just moved back to Indiana.
So you are already a grandmother 4 times
Yes.
and get ready to have another one.
And then Mina has 2 kids, and then my other son has a kid. So
You got
there's
a lot
tons
of
of grandkids.
grands, yeah.
There's tons of grandkids. But, you know, 3 grandkids is different from 8 grandkids.
Right.
And that's what happened, is I bought this house, and now there's 3, now there's 8. And that's a different metric. So what I may have to do is finish the house in Wilmington, have a couple of nice winters there, and then sell the house in Wilmington. I don't know. I just don't know. Because luckily, I have a little bit of money saved. So even though I am unemployed, I am not in a rush.
Right.
Like the last time I was employed, I needed a job today, right? Like I need a job because I need to pay my bills. I'm okay right now.
Okay.
I can wait till Christmas and I'm not going to starve. And also because my expenses are so small. My house is paid for, my car is paid for. All I pay for is electricity. I don't even pay for water. My son pays for the water.
Now, what's your role here in Indiana before you decide to either go to North Carolina, or what are you actually doing here? You're no longer with the Good Bones. You're on a whole new journey. But what's your journey here like?
Grandma. All I do is grandma stuff. It's great. Oh, and also I have a friend who lives in Richmond, Indiana. Her name is India Cruz Griffin.
That's a serious name.
Serious name, and she is serious business, let me tell you. So I met India. If you've never been to the Harrison Center for one of their dinners, you have to go. there's a table that comes down from the ceiling that is set for dinner, and you can fit 20 people around it. And every month they have dinner with the artist. So India's gallery work is all around the room, and with every course, India tells us about a different painting on the wall. And I got seated next to India's husband, Quentin, who said, my wife told me I have to behave. I said, oh, we're both in trouble because I don't know how to behave, and you had to be told how to behave. We were in so much trouble. We had a delightful evening. When I walked into the room, I saw a piece that India had done called Roses for My Mother. And what art can do for us, and what this piece did for me, is it pulled me out of myself. It spoke to me. I wanted to stand there and look at that piece of art for the rest of my life.
Really?
And it is 5 feet wide and 4 feet high, and I live in a 700 square foot little tiny carriage house, and I don't have room for it, and I don't need to spend $4,000 on a piece of art. So I'm going to move on. Then I sit and have dinner, and it's a wine pairing, and I don't drink, so I got drunk real fast on about an ounce of wine. And then India tells the story that her mother has Alzheimer's. My mother has Alzheimer's.
Right.
And she did this for her mother. And I can't tell you the rest of the story. All I was doing was getting on the app and buying the painting.
Wow.
And it's at the end of my bed, so every morning I see it first thing, and every night I see it before I go to sleep. And that night, I was so fangirling over this amazing artist. I'm just in love with her. She's amazing. And I'm trying to play it cool. Unbeknownst to me, she was doing the same thing about her favorite HGTV star. And she was trying to play it cool. So finally we stopped playing it cool, and we were friends. And this is the kind of generous friend India is. She lets me come to her house, and she's teaching me how to do the kind of art she does. And we're doing a collaboration that we're going to auction. We haven't decided anything more than that.
Okay.
Like, it needs to benefit something besides us, right? Something bigger than us. And when I say collaborating, I got there yesterday, and she said, since we're collaborating, you're going to work today. I'm like, I worked last time I was here. What do you mean I'm going to work? She says, no, you're doing all the work today. So I'm filling in the background. So I'm basically her unpaid intern who she's teaching these amazing techniques to. And I'm slowly learning them, and I'm seeing how this art comes together. And what I know now that I didn't know before, which is amazing, is she starts with collage and then she overpaints. I can take a piece of paper flat on a board, but I can make it look like it's a folded piece of cloth. What? What kind of magic is that, India? You're amazing.
That is too awesome.
I can't wait till it's done and we can show people, but until it's done, I'm not showing people.
So what's next for you?
So I don't know what's next. I pitched a story in another urban center that I love, and I really, really hope that turns into something. I really do, because what this lady's doing is awesome. I wish I could say more. I've never gone to, well, not since I was 6.
Okay.
Have I gone to a casting call.
So you want to go to a casting call?
I went to one.
Oh.
I had a casting call, and I got good feedback, but I don't have an answer yet. So there's an opportunity out there that may result from this casting call, which would be fantastic. Maybe I'll go back to practicing law. I kept my license active.
Really?
So yeah. You work too hard for a law license to just let it die. No, you keep that active.
What field of law?
So I would probably...
Litigation?
Yeah, absolutely litigation. So I learned how to be a litigator in the Marion County Prosecutor's Office.
Okay.
Under Scott Newman.
Okay.
He is an amazing human being, and I learned a lot from him, and he really cared about the job, and he really gave us a lot of tools to do our job well. And I stayed until my pension vested.
Because I didn't feel the same about the next prosecutor, and then went and did criminal defense work. So I worked both sides of the bar, which I think everyone should do.
Why?
I learned so much about how to be a better prosecutor from being a defense attorney, and how to be a better defense attorney from being a prosecutor. And if we're all better at our jobs, there's more justice. It's just that simple.
And you're just a jack of all trades.
I know, right?
How many tools is actually in your hammer? In your tool bag, I mean.
Well, I'm also a master gardener. I grew up, I had a dad who was a vegetable gardener. My mother landscaped the entire 7 acres. So we just grew up gardening. And so I went to Purdue's Master Gardener class and got my Master Gardener certification. It's like 90 hours, I think.
Wow.
And, oh, it's fantastic. Everyone should do it. You look at the world a whole different way. I don't have any bees right now, but I have been a beekeeper for many, many, many years. I live in a neighborhood where some of the neighbors use chemicals on their lawns. It's really hard on the bees. So it's not fair to keep bees in that neighborhood. They just die. It's unkind. What else? What else is interesting?
Sounds like you got you don't left the TV show. You still doing all kind of interesting things, man.
Well, it's funny because I said to my son, I'm always around, because he lives, so I have a main house that's about 1,800 square feet, and I have a carriage house that's about 7, and he and his wife and their 4 kids are living in the main house while they build their new house here in Indianapolis, and I live in the carriage house. I said, just ask me, I'm always around. He goes, no, I've seen your calendar. Mom, you're never around. You're always doing something. What do you mean you're always around?
Well, that's good.
It is good. So, like on Tuesday, I got invited to Dayton. There's a woman who has twins, one of whom is disabled. And there aren't any places for the kids to play together, indoors and outdoors.
So you're going to build a park?
Well, I'm just going to go be part of it. I'm not building it. I'm just going to go be part of it. I got invited, so I'm going to go. But I'm like, what? That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is a need that isn't met. Because, McDonald's, everybody goes to McDonald's in the wintertime because it's indoors. But if you're in a wheelchair, McDonald's isn't really made for you.
Right.
And the playgrounds where there are the swings for the wheelchairs, they take up all the space, and the other kids don't have swings. And it's like, let them all play together.
It sounds like you just all of a sudden got this epiphany, and everything that seems to be not the way it's supposed to be, you're jumping in and taking a leap to address it.
I think the unifying theme for my life is making the world a better place.
That should be for everybody.
Right, in whatever way I can.
Right, before we wrap up.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, I'm excited. I can sit here and talk to you all day. Before we wrap up, leave the viewers with something that only you can leave them with. You're changing the world now. You're still building, but you're building something totally different. You're building minds. You're building a purpose. Leave them with something.
I think we can make the world a better place, right? We can all do something. It doesn't have to be big. You can pick up trash in your neighborhood. It makes a difference. You can put a book in the little library at the end of the street where people donate books. You can, you can give something to your neighbor who doesn't have the thing that you have. You can check on your neighbor. You can make friends with your neighbor. You can ask your neighbor for help, because people will be your friends if you let them help you. And you can make the world a better place by asking for the help you need and letting someone else feel like a hero. You know how good it feels when you help someone?
Yeah.
We love that. And you can give that gift to someone. So you don't even have to do anything. You could just ask for help. So there's something for all of us. And, I see all these t-shirts that say, be kind. I see the signs in the yard. And I think that's in response to the world just seems like it's not as nice as it used to be. People got upset.
Has the world ever really been nice?
I know when I grew up, I felt like it was. And I realize it's because I was insulated.
Right.
Like, I didn't know that there was crime.
Right.
I didn't know there was racism.
Right.
I didn't know there was poverty.
Right.
Right. I knew I had to work for the money I made.
Right.
But that felt good. So, yeah, maybe it hasn't. But aren't we here to make it better? Like, isn't that our arc as humanity?
That should be the ultimate.
Yeah. And we can. We're smart enough. We have enough. We can. So I guess that's what I'd leave people with, is you can. If all you do is ask your neighbor for help, you're making the world a better place.
Karen, thank you so much for taking the time to bless and grace the studio with your presence and your experience. You definitely captured the world for 8 or 9 seasons. Hopefully you get called back to do another one. I Hope you and your daughter reunite to keep spreading the message of building not only houses and neighborhoods, but building everybody's mind, whether they be black, white, Hispanic. We all need to elevate. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Karen from Good Bones. This has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton